Good morning, everybody. Or good day. Or good night. Well, praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. The stream is brought to you by LIVE Products. LIVE, live now, alive now. If you want to see the stream faster, you can go to 2x after the stream is finished streaming and go through the content faster so you can get through it quicker. I'm going to start off with something that brought me to tears this morning. And here we go.
Except for the Jewish people to allow this to happen to children and civilians of all ages in Gaza, for whatever reason, is unconscionable and unthinkable. And I ask you Jews everywhere all over the world to spend some time alone and think, is this acceptable? How could it be done to you and your ancestors? And you turn around and you do it to someone else.
I appreciate your all of your honesty.
For the Jewish people.
Oh, yeah. It still brings me to tears, ladies and gentlemen. This atrocity is so bad. It's so evil. It's so wicked that I couldn't even cover it for a couple of days. I couldn't take it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I find it so inhuman. I don't understand how we can be so cruel. I'm sorry, Omar. I'm sorry, Muhammad. I'm so sorry. I hate that we have to stand here and just watch this day after day. How can we do this to other people who have done you nothing? Nothing. That sin is existing. How could we be this way? I I don't know what to say. Everyone who has a conscience has been speaking out against this. Mass annihilation of other human beings for the sake of their existence is the most inhumane thing we could ever do. I have not seen evil like this so boldly paraded before everyone. There's no other way to describe it. It's evil. It's so wrong. And I can't. I have to. I have to call it out for what it is. I can't stay silent. I will not stay silent. This breaks my heart. It destroys my mind. It's evil. Were it not for God, I'd be in complete despair. Over the last couple of days, I've suffered a depression from this thing. I couldn't take it. This thing sickens human beings. It can kill us. How do you care for people you can't help? I've been down this road before. Helpless to save my mother, my ex-girlfriend. Powerless. And I understand why in BVS, Alfred said it turns good men cruel. If you don't watch it, you could lose your heart for other people. Start targeting people and hating them. And continuing the hate. But the only thing that overcomes hate and fear is love. I'm sorry. I broke down this morning, but I've been breaking down for a while. This is not good. It's just horrible. Seeing skeletons of children alive. It's horrible. It's not good. It's not right. And it's just terrible. There's no way to describe it, man. It's not right. I would wish this on my worst enemy, man. The people have stopped depending on their governments. My government hasn't said a damn fucking thing about this. What damn thing? This is an assault on our senses. This is an assault on all humanity. This is billions and billions of George Floyds. This evil, wicked people parade the dead before us, torturing people with a slow death. It is inhumane. It is anti-human. It is wrong. And it is hard for me to hold myself together now, seeing these things. I don't care what religion you are. I don't even care what political affiliation you are. You are a human being. You deserve to have a life. You deserve to live. It's too much. So I couldn't cover it. I was covering Restore the Snyderverse, but I promise you this. I will never stop. I will never stop pushing for a free Palestine. From the river of Jordan to the Red Sea, to the Mediterranean Sea. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. "63% of the Israelis believe that Netanyahu and his regime are doing the wrong thing. 63% want the release of the hostages. 50-something% want an end to the war. Soldiers are no longer going to war. Some are being incarcerated, some are being dishonorably discharged. People are committing suicide. Soldiers are committing suicide for the war crimes that they have committed. This is doing so much harm, not just to the world, but the people in Israel itself. It's destroying them. And it's destroying us all. All those who are standing strong and fighting on, I applaud you, soldiers. I applaud you. I needed a break. This thing is just too much. And I can understand the outrage. I can understand the anger. I can understand the pain. We are all suffering because of a people who just want to live their lives peacefully, who are suffering. And it's one thing to hear about some suffering of people. It's another thing to see it 24 hours, every single day. And it's not getting better. And I feel like we're doing things, we're getting through. But it always feels like too little, too late. I know all the countries, the people of the countries are being held ransom by their leaderships who are unwilling to address this issue in a substantial way and take a stand. It's going to be a movement that makes this happen. That has been. The BDS movement. It's going to be a movement that's going to make this change. No government is going to do that. It's up to us. We have to make that decision. And we have to fight them until it is fulfilled. And it starts with Gaza. And it ends with European nations where the Albanians have been genocided. The Sudanese have been genocided. The Somalians have been genocided. The Congolese have been genocided. Imperial powers go into Latin America. Nicaragua with the Sandinista. Venezuela with Maduro. Cuba. They attack and bully, kill. And that ends when you stop fueling their evil. Let me explain to you who is behind the veil of secrecy. Your companies. You don't need to influence governments. You need to put the heat on the corporations and the companies and the oligarchs. Too long, we've been feeling that so-called people that we democratically elect, they control things and they run things. They don't run nothing. It's corporations and companies and oligarchs that run things and have been for centuries. They have monopolized and used puppet kings to get their agendas done. We must target them. The BDS movement is the most powerful movement. All the laws and legislations trying to stop BDS from happening, it's because it's effective. It is time for us to implement BDS to the max, to sabotage the companies that are assisting Israel in genocide and unfair exploitation of resources in its neighboring states. It's time to clamp down on the companies that have been proliferating terrorism and wars all around the world, destabilizing countries. We have to think about the citizens who are like us, brothers and sisters who just want to live and carry on their lives. We have to be in solidarity with each other, and we have to come together to stop this. The BDS movement is the key. A lot of people are going to go to prison. A lot of people are going to lose their lives. A lot of people are going to get maimed. We must not stop. They now have AI. It can do a lot of things that human beings can. They're going to replace us with AI if they get a chance. And they're going to treat us just like these Palestinian people. And they're giving us a message. We can do this in front of your face. You can do nothing about it. That's what they're saying. But you can do a lot because you are the one that finances and fuels them. You take away their fuel and they're nothing. Boycott. Divest. And then the governments will, like puppets, have to follow your flow and your push, and they will sanction. But even if they don't sanction, you need to sanction. All businesses that support this genocide must be boycotted by you. Give them not a dime. I'm talking about Coca-Cola, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. All of them. Don't give them a dime. But we didn't begin with this. Excuse me for a second. We press on. Movies and Games posted up something that was really awesome. I want to talk a little bit about the Snyderverse. You know, a lot of detractors say that the Snyderverse is dead. Well, Movies and Games Related posted up on YouTube, and you can go watch his YouTube link. Snyderverse is very much alive. Listen to what he has to say.
It's pretty much, so the goal was to reach 400,000, and they made the goal in 5 days, less than a week, only in 5 days. You guys heard that right. So, you know, even though they already made that, it's still going. As you see here, they are still making money over the goal. It's already over, 111%. Obviously the 100% was all they needed. Pretty much while something else is not really making the money, the way articles are trying to make it seem like it's breaking every type of records, but it's not. The Snyderverse is pretty much still alive, in a way. When it comes to merchandise, it's something that it just never really went away. So
that was the first time we
was to reach.
He goes on to say some more stuff, so I'll deal with that later. But Becca Movie says the same thing. Holy Snyderverse DC trilogy that will never ever be replicated. Maybe we want them back after Gunn is fired. Back to Marvel, which is retarded fans. These guys. Time to suit up. Carlos Digital, he says, Real News with Carlos Digital says, with no other option, Superman fans can now only proudly insist the studio committed the most successful fraud in movie history. To explain the budget stated by the Ohio Motion Picture Association. The film, which applied for Ohio motion picture tax credits under the project code named Genesis, is expected to receive more than $11 million in tax credits. Superman Legacy projects it will hire 3,254 Ohio residents, according to the application. The film's total eligible production expenditures for Ohio motion picture tax credit were nearly $37 million, or a little more than 10% of the film's total budget of more than $363.8 million. So they get $11 million in tax credits off of $363 million that they have a budget for. So that's kind of sponsored there by Ohio. I'm sure they have several different sponsors. So I'm not saying that this film cost Warner Brothers $363.8 million. That's not what I've ever said. I said it's between 363 and 225, which they reported. I do not believe they got back, what is it? 225 is what? 170, 175 maybe, or 178. I don't think they got back $178 million in sponsorships, tax credits, tax exemptions. It's possible they could have. I mean, they were trying to apply the Zack Snyder model that he did with Man of Steel. But where are you going to get those sponsors from? This is what they're saying. But I don't see that. So I think that it's somewhere between 225 and wait, I said 225, right? Yeah. Okay. And 225. Let me just hold on a second. 5 from 13 is 8. 2 from 6 is 3. No, it'd be $130 million. Tax credits and sponsorships and stuff like that, right? I think I'm correct there. So it's possible that they got back that. It's possible. And therefore, that's why they say 225 is the budget. Thing about it is they said it rolled over the budget as well. Either way, it doesn't matter. And here's the budget expenditures. There it is right down below here. If you look right here, you see it right there. It's it right there. All right, it's the budget. So here's what I would say. I would say that it made somewhere between 225 and 363. In which case, you add on the monies it costs for advertising to the budget, production and advertising, and you're looking at like a 325 to a 463, somewhere in between there. And I don't think that the money they put out for advertising was $100 million. I think it's much more than that. That's a very, very conservative figure. So they've been using the conservative figures, the bottom end of the spectrum. Even if you use the bottom end of the spectrum, you still are going to end up having to make $700 million. Even if you use the bottom end of the spectrum, it's still $700 million. So I don't know what they're talking about. Like, it is what it is. So anyway, breaking it down, what I'm saying is that this movie has a steep uphill climb to make. Anywhere between, I'm assuming somewhere around $700 million, which you got to make 735. I think somewhere in the vicinity of there is what you're looking at really for this movie. And everybody knows it's probably not going to make that. It's winding down right now. If it makes $600 million, that's a plus for it. All of the DCU movies except Suicide Squad lost to all MCU movies in their respective years. All this nitpicking against their first movies when CBMs were barely making money is loser behavior. You can't beat movies in their prime. So you go after the ones that started the MCU. Talk about moving goalposts. Your first meme didn't say any of this. You said all this and calling. You're saying all this and calling is loser behavior is hilarious. Command is literally massively hypocritical. MCU was making tons of money, not CBMs. Greek Vibes Nation says, apparently inflation is a huge topic among comic nerd culture. Can you name a time where inflation was debated so heavily amongst two movies as it has been against Superman and Man of Steel? Can you name a time when a movie has to twist every little thing into some fake milestone to make it look like it's a success when it's really not? If James Gunn Superman made $1 billion, these people would say Warner Brothers was busy buying up seats in empty theaters. I'll tell you what. Money talks, bullshit walks. So if they have the money to buy up seats in the theaters and they're making a massive loss of $1 billion, that's them. You know what I mean? But what I would tell you is, you look at what what Disney did with Captain Marvel, and then you watch what happened with the Marvels, and it told you the full picture. That's how we knew they padded up. So Superman is going to flop, and then Supergirl is going to flop, and then Clayface is going to flop. And why do I say this? Well, if you artificially are trying to boost up a movie to make it more than it really is, and you're not even dealing with inflation. I mean, you have to deal with inflation because inflation accounts for ticket sales. It's all about ticket sales at the end of the day. And if Man of Steel is selling almost twice the amount of tickets that Superman is selling, then that means that Superman is not doing better than Man of Steel. It's just not. Now, I think the number is closing the gap right now, but Superman's almost at the end of its run. Man of Steel would have made about $920 million, almost $1 billion in today's money. And the reason we use that and we speak about inflation is because it's the kind of currency and sales that Man of Steel was doing in respect relative to Superman. Superman ain't doing nothing. Was Man of Steel a blowout box office hit? No, it wasn't at the time. It got a lot of hate, just like how Superman films getting a lot of hate. I would say Superman films getting a lot of hate, deservedly so. And Man of Steel got a lot of hate, undeservedly so, because the major points of Man of Steel that are still controversial to this day is Clark letting Jonathan Kent die when Jonathan Kent said maybe you shouldn't have saved the kids, and Superman breaking Zod's neck. Those are the two controversial things in the whole entire movie, right? And for that, critics panned it. I'm going to show you guys what happened with Man of Steel, because a lot of people do not remember the history of this movie. And I think it's worth your while to have a look at it. Let me see if I have this stuff here, though, first. Look, Supergirl's coming out. Instead of look up, James Gunn says look out. So he's planning on carrying the Supergirl into this wild, kind of unrestrained sort of movie. That's his plan. Whereas Man of Steel, man, people call it a masterpiece today. But at the time it came out, that wasn't what they were saying. That was not what they were saying. Listen to this. Man of Steel fails to take flight. Scott Mendelson. This was June 11th, 2013. Man of Steel came out June 14th, 2013. This is how they were dealing with it. The critics panned this movie. I'm going to show you just some of the things that the critics said. That is very disturbing. Here they are. So the day before Man of Steel came out, he said a middling effort which features neither the character-based wit of the Avengers films, comparing it to Marvel, or the Wagnerian grandeur of the Grand Knight trilogy, compared to the Dark Knight. So he said, Chris Bersanti said that. David Edwards says, just as things get interesting, attempts at characterization are shredded as Snyder unleashes the big guns for a final ripped straight from the Michael Bay, more or less, school of filmmaking. Henry Fitzherbert says, Cavill makes for a very solid Superman, but is a one-note portrait thanks to the limited screenplay. Now remember, this is not a Superman movie. This is how Superman came to be. So way more than halfway through the movie, that is when Superman is seen. And it's in a crisis situation. John Hanlon says, an utterly disappointing action-packed film that feels more like a science fiction epic than a Superman reboot. Paul Chambers says, to quote the Joker in The Dark Knight, why so serious? There's no joy in this story. That's Paul Chambers. John Serba says, Man of Steel is no fun. Whether Superman broods or is in action, endless, mindless, explosive, stultifying action. So, once again, Seb Patrick says the original superhero is given the sense of spectacle he deserves, but this is a cold, emotionless film that never makes us care for Superman the way he's supposed to care about us. That's crazy. Matthew Soretto said, Mantra 2, Zack Snyder should take his title too literally and pack his film with imagery of steel. Krypton could be called Planet Metallica. Eric Weber said, Superman's brawl with Zod is indeterminable, an ungodly overload of CGI that amounts to special effects bludgeoning. And Rafer Guzman said, Cavill broods handsomely as Superman, but this reboot skips on fun and romance. So they're looking at Superman 1 back in 1978, and they want a recreation of Superman 1. These critics, they've been influenced by Superman 1, and they decide, and this movie's not that, which it wasn't. Man of Steel has a cold heart that no amount of spectacle can compensate for. It's so weird to hear these guys say that this movie was cold, or it had a cold heart. And this was after the Avengers in 2012. And it was just so weird to hear them say these things. It's like, are you culturally insensitive to the points that this film was making? To me, this film was very emotional. Nothing cold about it in any way, shape, or form. But yet, this is what these people were saying. And I'm wondering if you are in another reality, or if it is that possibly you are denying what you're seeing because you want to deny what you're seeing. I'm not sure. From an action standpoint, Man of Steel delivers. Does it? But I didn't connect with it on an emotional level. Okay. That's sad. Which would be fine if this was something like G.I. Joe, but this is Superman. There should be more to it than just a couple of swell battle scenes. And I'm surprised that these guys couldn't connect emotionally. I don't know if you're emotionally immature. Maybe where you are in life, you're fine, and you've never gone through difficulty in life. But just to say these things is just so disturbing, because it was like, this movie was as emotional as it gets. You know, it's a very emotional movie. No, people are not screaming and yelling, shouting like James Gunn's Star-Lord or like Iron Man, you know, shrieking out their emotion and overacting. No, they weren't doing that, but this was that kind of movie. Man of Steel is not Superman, not even close. This is amazing, because this is what I think of James Gunn's Superman. I think James Gunn's Superman in no way in that movie was super. He didn't stand out. There was nothing that separated him from the rest of the Justice Gang, or even Lois Lane, or the common everyday man. He wasn't separated. Now, it was nice to see people rally behind him, but, you know, that movie could have been called Man, and I didn't think it was Superman that we were watching there. So it's just interesting to hear that. Spectacular but empty. Looking for Nolan's trademark solemnity? It's there. How about Door? Pensive hero. Yup, got that too. What it doesn't have is much character or soul. Again, amazing to me that somebody would say something like that. I didn't get it. I don't get it. There's nothing very astonishing about this, despite layers upon layers of effects. The attempt to do something different and a bit darker is admirable. But this Superman doesn't fly. It just assaults the senses. Where's the fun? Again, I'm not sure I follow that guy. Hopelessly convoluted in a way that only a cast this good could save. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Flashbacks don't make it convoluted. Matt Bronson, Man of Steel offers nothing but torturous exposition, heavy-handed symbolism, criminally ill-used actors, and a numbing finale that would be right home in a Transformers sequel. It's one massive super bore. Amazing. Amazing. Dennis Schwartz, the joyless pick never won my heart. Unfortunately, I cannot get past the length of Man of Steel. It's a huge problem with many films these days, particularly with this genre. Entertain us, please. Don't overwhelm and bore us. I don't know what these people were thinking. Rest easy, Christopher Reeve fans. He's still the best Superman ever, and Margaret Kidder is still the number one Lois Lane. See, so this is where they were. I don't know why they were so antagonistic to this different take. it was, people always constantly say, Zack Snyder, he wasn't going by the comics, and I'm like, first of all, the things that Zack Snyder's doing in this movie, because remember, this is a movie about Clark becoming Superman, right? The original Superman. Some of the stuff they filled in the gaps. David Goyer filled in the gaps where there's no comic book that covers that stuff. So he was giving a rationale for why this is why Superman does this. This is why he has these powers. There was a rationale behind everything, right? Because while John Byrne's run attributes Clark to his Kryptonian heritage, more so than anything else, whereas in other iterations of comics, we think of Superman as a Superman, and we don't think of him as an alien, right? Zack cannot really emphasize the alien part. I think that because of that, I think people want the dreamy Christopher Reeves version for some reason, but yet they don't, because when an iteration of that is provided, they reject it. Even if you look at James Gunn's Superman now, that pulls from the Reeve elements, it's supposed to be fun and supposed to be, something that people want to tap into. You still see the retardation of people still not liking it, right? So people say, well, damn if you do, damn if you don't with Superman. Not really. If you look at subsequent sequels to that Man of Steel, and yes, BVS was a sequel to Man of Steel, I think somebody's calling me. I'll call him back and just see who it is. Okay. To go into my do the disturb order. So what I want to say is that Zack Snyder's Superman movies constantly made more and more money. BVS made more money than Man of Steel. And then Zack Snyder's Justice League was never put into theaters. They put that atrocity called Justice League, which had nothing to do with Zack Snyder. That was Joss Whedon's interpretation of the movie. So if we put Zack Snyder's Justice League into cinemas, and I mean this, you put it into cinemas now, it's going to make money for the studio. The studio will just have to do advertising and probably don't have to put out as much money advertising as they did with Superman movie. And you'll make your money. And again, the crossover between DC and the MCU, that's already sorted out. By them acquiring Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, they pretty much solved that problem. So that problem is a piece of cake now. It's sorted. It's up to them to want to restore the Snyderverse, because the Snyderverse will fit really snugly with Deadpool. Deadpool makes the Snyderverse possible. It's whether the studio wants to do that. There is people will. I like the other stuff. I like the other stuff. People will come out to see the Snyderverse. They will. Okay? What happened with DC is, and you saw the huge response on Twitter in 2021. The record-breaking response. The DC box office has only done well when the majority of DC fans, of which a substantial portion of them are Snyder fans, go to see the movies. Okay? Hey, you have to excuse me, I'm eating some food. Okay. Here's the weekend's box office. Okay. As of Friday, Superman stands at $534 million. International is 227. Domestic is 534. This is the fourth weekend. We know that it looks like by the end of its run, Superman will be in the high 500 millions to the early 600 millions. Right? That's what it's looking. It's shaping up to look like. Will they make more than Justice League unadjusted for inflation? We don't know. What we do know is because International is underperforming, I don't know how much internationally it will add to the box office. That's the interesting question. Fantastic Four isn't doing any better. Still needs to cross 300 million over this weekend. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. So the thing that's leading the summer is Jurassic World. But that, too, has underperformed. Only has $731 million. A billion's out of the question. So, if you don't make interesting, good movies, people are not going to go see it. It doesn't matter how much you market the movie or push the movie. If people don't think it's a good movie, they'll go see it and they'll know. No matter how much influencers and so on say it's good. It's really the word of mouth that matters. Right? Now, I got a couple of things I got to do today. But The Naked Gun, it started off pretty solid for those kinds of movies with its budget. And Bad Guys 2. So, I say all of this to say that Superman isn't doing super well. Candor Knight said, I hate to break it to you, but if you spent the last 9 to 12 years obsessively hating on these films and obsessing over the people who love them, it's not the fans of these movies who are the toxic ones. These are just the facts. That's true. Josh says, a lot of DC fans not understanding what everything... Okay, a lot of DC fans not understanding that everything people are saying about Fantastic Four applies to Superman too. I love both films, but they are both underperforming. The genre needs a bit of change. What Zach was doing was what was needed. Grounded characters, amazing epic scenes, actual stories. We need to renew how we do CBMs. Yeah, Zach kind of changed the game. I'm not gonna lie. See, all of this just really is disturbing what's happening in Gaza. It's very, very disturbing. And yes, we can do something about it. We are doing things about it, but still, it feels like too little, too late. A whole new Superman movie tailor-made for them in theaters, and they're back to editing Cavill. What happened to moving on? There's no Zack Snyder anymore. They put a cap on creativity and the audience noticed. There's no edge anymore. Every movie's under 2 hours and predictable. This is in response to just saying a lot of DC fans not understanding everything people say about Fantastic Four applies to Superman 2. That's why we need to restore the Snyderverse. I mean, this is not rocket science. Not beating Man of Steel at the box office or in any other arena. A toxic Russian Snyder butt, bro. Are Zack Snyder, Ray Fisher, Wayne T. Carr et al. Back? Then I stand with Ray Fisher. Accountability is greater than entertainment. Boycott WB, aka the shit fucks down the street. Restore the Snyderverse or get the fuck out of here. This is the same thing that we recounted, that Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, Fantastic Four are the major blockbusters of this year, but two already all underperformed, but two look like they're flopping, which is Superman and Fantastic Four. Zack Snyder was that change, but WB wanted quick results. Zack Snyder was building a world. He actually gave depth to his characters. Now we're stuck with Bozo, James, Diddy, Gunn, and his MCU-ified universe, which is true. Ryan Razbiani says, they did this in the name of self-defense. I've never seen destruction at this magnitude. Oh, man. 300 for kids, but not with less sauce. Yeah, Alzagahu. Y'all did all that complaining about unrealistic male body standards and CBN, so now they've stopped putting padding in suits. Actors have stopped giving us aspirational physiques, and now the new era Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man look at the skinny fat. Broken heart, fuck you. The bar is low, very low. Fire James Gunn and Peter Safran. Boycott WB. Fire James Gunn. In first movie of Gunn's DC ended a 17-year drought in which Marvel Films was constantly the highest grossing CBM of the year. Oh, no. Slow your roll, brother. We'll see if Fantastic Four, performs. You don't know. You're saying that now. It's not, the run of Fantastic Four is not over. Okay. Let's listen to a little bit more from movies and games related. This was great.
A quick video for you guys. And, thanks to McFarlane, they're the ones pretty much listening to us. I'm going to go ahead and play this quick video for you guys so you guys can see what I mean.
Moving right along. We've got up next some of our BVS and theatrical waves. Of course, the BVS wave was incredibly successful, thanks to you all. So thank you for supporting it. And we actually have a BVS related reveal for later, that because it was so successful. So stay tuned.
So yeah, as you see from the video, that was the McFarlane company confirming that the Batman v Superman wave was a huge hit for them, thanks to us, the fans. So obviously they are making more things for Batman v Superman. Hopefully they'll listen, or I don't really know if that's also something that Warner Brothers has to let them do. But we are also asking for a Man of Steel wave, and we are also asking for a Nightmare wave. CC, what do you... And thanks to McFarlane, they're the ones pretty much.
So McFarlane's listening to the fans, and they're making money. They're making money off of these waves, right? Which is why they did the exclusive 5-tier wave stuff, which was very successful as well. Becca Movie says, I told you guys this is one sneaky studio. They will find a way to get it to 600, although if they do, it will be obvious that WB is manipulating numbers because cinemas are literally empty. Regardless, they cannot and will not beat Man of Steel and definitely not adjusted for inflation. The thing about it is, I told you they're padding seats, they're buying up seats and stuff, and all of this costs them money. That's why I said an advertising budget, advertising and distribution budget of $100 million. I don't buy that. It's closer to $200 million. They put out money on this movie, man. They didn't hold back on nothing. They put out a lot of money. That's why they're firing people in the company, right? They didn't get the results they were looking for, and this movie is going to cost them so much money. This is the second James Gunn movie that's going to cost them a whole set of money, and they're talking about Supergirl, right? John Baker says, because blaming the fans for movies underperforming has been good business model. Sorry, but it's all the studios and creators. If the audience isn't interested in their product, make things for the audience instead of only for yourselves, and you might start profiting again. Listen. So John Roca said, some people won't want to hear this, but it might be time to stop putting all the blame on studios or creators for underperforming movies. It might be time to start looking at the intelligence level of moviegoers. If a phenomenally stupid film like Jurassic World Rebirth can crush films like Superman and Fantastic Four at the box office, then something might be wrong with all of us, not the studios or the creators. That's the dumbest take I've ever heard from a studio show. John Roca. Brother, we are not responsible for the poor box office of these stupid movies. The audience is never wrong. The customer is always correct. We're the customer. And whether you think we're stupid or not is irrelevant. We live in a different age, John Roca. We live in an age where there should be discussion and dialogue between the audience and the studios. And that's facilitated by Twitter and social media. So literally, social media gives these companies on a plate data that they can accumulate and look at. And they can literally know what the audience likes and wants more of. And the thing about it is, because people feel that their voices can be heard on social media and they get access to big multi-corporations like Disney and Warner Brothers, because of that, they vocally express what they like. So it's like, this is not rocket science. This is not something where the audience has not been clear on what it wants and what it doesn't want. All right. The numbers, when you run the numbers, you see what the audience wants and what it doesn't want. You have social media and then you have the ticket sales. The audience always wanted Deadpool to clash with Wolverine. This is something that they asked for decades. That's why Deadpool and Wolverine made the numbers it did. The audience explicitly asked for the sequels to Zack Snyder's Justice League. They explicitly asked for that. Okay? And it's not Snyder Bros. It's the audience. You have to listen to the audience. The audience that comes to watch DC, whether they're DC fans or not. And if they conclude after a 4-hour-long movie that I want to see more of this, and you can go and you can look on YouTube, you can look anywhere you want. Most people, because the movie ends on a cliffhanger as well, most people want more of that movie after seeing it. Zack Snyder's Justice League particularly. They want to see where that story would go. Okay, and these are people who are not necessarily comic book movie fans. The point I'm making is, when the hashtag Restore the Snyderverse went and broke Twitter, because this was a record. It was bigger than Endgame. It was the most discussed hashtag on social media in that year, 2021. It was huge. And when that happened, it showed that this is something that the audience is open to seeing. Not only that, but the studio I took a decision that clearly was against any logic of any business dealing with any kind of customer. It decided that the customers were wrong, that they were going to pursue their own course of trying to get a DC Marvel crossover. That's the whole point behind it. They hoped they would make a lot of Marvel money from that. And they decided to ignore the audience. They decided what you say does not count. This was an intentional desire. It was intentional sabotage of the movie. These executives made this decision, no, this movie's not going forward. Regardless of what happens. It's not going forward. We're not going forward with it. They made an intentional decision not to put it in cinemas, not to put it in theaters. They intentionally decided we're going with the abomination that went into theaters. That is, we call that Cat. And even though Patty Jenkins went against that and some other directors, and they disassociated themselves with that idea, they still followed along with the studio in terms of producing product, movies that the audience did not like. There's no other way to put it. The audience was clear on what it wanted. I want more of this, the audience said. And instead of the studio listening to that, they turned a deaf ear on it. In fact, they insulted it. They said, no, you're not going to get more of this. That's it. It's over. Shut up and let us do what we do. And that was the audacity, the arrogance of the studio that led to a series of flopped DC movies, including this most recent flop, which is Superman. They can't get their bearings because the audience told you what it wanted. I want more of this. You gave us a Joker sequel we never asked for. You're living in a different age where you have to work in tandem with people asking you for things. When they ask you for something, you're supposed to deliver that to them. That's what made Kevin Feige and his Marvel Cinematic Universe do so well. Comic book movies do not function the same way, and fandoms, for that matter, do not function the same way as if you're doing original movies or some other movie that's maybe based on literature, but people don't have a mass knowledge of that literature or don't have a mass knowledge of the characters. When you talk about Superman, that's a well-known character. Batman, Wonder Woman, you're talking about a well-known character. And therefore, when you get an audience that's asking, I want more of that. I want more of that Superman. I want more of that Batman. I want more of that Wonder Woman. When they ask you for that, you as a studio should want to do that tomorrow. You should be like, oh, yes. Where's the guy that did this stuff? Right, you. We need more of this. We need more of that. We need more of that. This is what the audience says. When I see a studio so arrogant that it's thinking that the audience, we must not let the audience decide what we do next. That is the stupidest ever. A power-hungry, stupid set of people who are not taking the metadata that they have in front of them and making use of that. Right? This is just common sense. Why are you fighting the people who are paying you to make movies? Why would you do that? So, I've seen a number of hashtags that were supposed to counter Restore the Snyderverse. First, we started off with the Snyderverse is dead hashtag. Then, to try and convolute and weaken Restore the Snyderverse, they came with Sell Snyderverse to Netflix. And these people were very aggressive. They were attacking people who said Restore the Snyderverse. And they kept on attacking us. Right? And I'm not saying sell Snyderverse to Netflix is not a bad is a bad hashtag. I'm not saying that. But when you want to just funnel things down one particular way, you behave just like the WB executives, because it's only your way or the highway, right? And you're very aggressive with it. And you're condemning people who use this hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Why is that a problem? Well, because hey, you can't restore the Snyderverse unless you deal with WB. I'm not, once the Snyderverse comes back, it's restored. It doesn't really matter how it's restored. The important thing is that it's restored. And the usual rhetoric, you're delusional. That's never going to happen. It was never going to happen. You know, the same bullshit that they were doing when we asked for the Snyder Cut. Now, you will notice, make Alita Battle Angel her sequel. Nobody was bashing against that crew. The Acme people who are asking for Coyote and versus Acme, nobody's bashing those people. Even the people who started asking for the Batgirl movie to come back, nobody was bashing those people. The only people they bashed and attacked was the people who said restore the Snyderverse. And it wasn't for any actions that the Restore the Snyderverse people did that's different to all the other groups that were asking for things. No. It was because they feel Zack Snyder is a threat to their plans, the studio. And then they have people who hate maybe Zack Snyder's Man of Steel or Zack Snyder's movies who join forces with them. Right? So that's what you ended up with. You end up with people trying to break up, disrupt, and stop the Restore the Snyderverse movement. The problem is, it's hard to break up a movement because a movement goes on without a certain leader or without. So they try to decapitate the Snyder movement by knocking down at the time one of our leaders whose name it was I forgot what her name is right now. We used to call her the Queen of the Snyderverse movement. And all of a sudden, this person called Snyder Queen came out of nowhere and was trying to take over the movement. And they try to vilify, her name is coming to me and then it's kind of disappearing. Fiona Zhang. Fiona Zhang was one of the original pioneers and one of the orchestrators of the Release the Snyder Cut movement. She's one of the early people. Fiona Zhang from China. I don't know what's going on with her, but she's cool. You also had a number of other people like Vinny and so on. And these are cool people. Vinny actually still does his videos and stuff. And Release the Snyder Cut has come back on the scene, which is really awesome because that is the original hashtag Twitter handle that really orchestrated and organized how we move forward. And now it mostly does commentary, but nonetheless, that is the hashtag movement. And then we had For the Snyder Cut, of course, and so much more. And I say this to say that we have people, even Rob Liefeld, who I really admire. I love his work with Deadpool and other comic books that he's done. And Rob was a Marvel, he's a Marvel guy, but he was supporting us in the Release the Snyder Cut movement. And he's now he's sort of trying to shield for James Gunn, which is not a good thing. But, guess he's getting paid, so it is what it is. But he basically is trying to tell us we need to go see that movie. And he kind of disrespectfully called it Snyder Bros and all that. Because he feels like this movie is doing well, so therefore he changed and he's jumping on the bandwagon with it. But it's not doing well. And all I wanted to say to Rob Liefeld is I still love you, brother. I just totally disagree with you. And if you were to put the Snyder Cut out right now, after Superman's run, if you put the Snyder Cut out there, the Snyder Cut would kick ass. 4-hour long movie. Okay? And why is that? People are hungry for good content. And since a lot of people haven't seen the Snyder Cut, it would be nice to put it into theaters. Warner Brothers just put into theaters Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. Yet they refuse to put the Snyder Cut into theaters. And don't get me wrong, I was a fan, and still am to some degree, of Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. So I'm not mad at what they're doing. I think that's a good thing. What I don't understand is why the Snyder Cut cannot see theaters or IMAX. And again, we asked for it. And the guns come attacking us. The guns for asking for something. Why would you attack someone for asking for something? Why are you trying to cancel that narrative? Why are you trying to silence someone from asking for something? Make that make sense. You know? So yeah. The summer box office is disappointing. And what John Roca said is retarded. The audience and the fans don't have to do shit. If you get them interested in something, if they are interested in something, they'll go see it. If they're not, they won't. It's that simple. You don't attack fans or you don't attack the audience because they didn't go see a film that you like or you feel was more entertaining than other films and better than other films. I'm a businessman. I sell foodstuffs. When people go to another place instead of me, I don't say they're stupid for doing that. People will go see what they want to see, be entertained by what they want to be entertained by. You have to respect that. So it's ass backwards and very bad business to attack your potential customers. Then after abusing them, you expect them to support your business. That's ass backwards business. It makes no fucking sense. Right? You have to respect your customers. And when your customers are telling you over and over again the same thing, no matter what you do, 4 years later, they're still requesting the same thing they asked for, and you realize your company is losing a whole set of money, right? You're constantly losing money because you refuse to listen to them. That's on you. That's not on them. They told you and they were clear on what they wanted. which you as a company could very easily provide or make happen for them. But instead of you doing that, you get petty and you decide to take out your issue, saying you will never get this. We'll deny this from you. Well, okay. Well, we will just never support you to take our business elsewhere. Until you wise up and you decide to redact on your power play. Oh, well. Right? We as fans will always be fans. And we have the Snyderverse. Not in its entirety, but we have the movies. We have Man of Steel. BVS. Zack Snyder's Justice League. We just want more of that. We said, we're not giving you more of that. And they say, okay, then we are not watching your movies. Because this is what we want. And you're not giving us anything like that. You haven't come close to anything like that. And we want that. So when you overcome your pettiness, or when your company dissolves, and somebody buys off your IPs, whichever way it goes, we'll be here. We'll be here asking for that same thing. You can't make it go away. If we could, you would. Fortunately, that is something very difficult to go away. So it's a movement behind this thing. It's not just individuals. And that's where this company doesn't understand the power of the collective. All right. Oh, this day is coming sooner than people think. Blue says, I, for one, really love the natural progression from BVS to Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm going to go watch Man of Steel, BVS, and Zack Snyder's Justice League again. Maybe even watch a little bit of Wonder Woman as well. I know the ending of Wonder Woman begins with the Amazon saying something is coming, so it'll be interesting seeing that flow into BVS. Okay. Ben Affleck, the Batman, says, "Do you still have your copy of Justice League 2017? Never had a copy of it. Or did you burn it, trash it? I've never had a copy of it." I have a copy of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Release the Snyder Cut. Release the Air Cut says, supply and demand seems easy to understand except for DC. There you go, just what I was just talking about. No, we do not want slop like Superman. Duh. We want movies of the highest standard like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Dark Knight trilogy. That's why it is good that Superman failed at the box office. There's a saying that, Snyder fans, they only like what Snyder did. It's not true. Some of us like Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy. I personally like The Dark Knight. That's it. I am a big advocate for Constantine sequel with Keanu Reeves. I loved Constantine. Of course, I loved Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. Tim Burton. I also enjoyed Joker. Some of the Snyder fans enjoyed the Batman. I was not one of them. So we are pushing for David. Some of us are pushing for David Ayer's Suicide Squad, Ayer cut. Studio Squad is not cutting it. Right? My point being this. Snyder fans will come, and when movies do extremely well, it's because Snyder fans are also involved in it. Snyder fans will go see movies which fit what they think DC is. So you'll see a Snyder fan go watch Constantine. You'll see a Snyder fan go watch the Dark Knight trilogy. You'll see a Snyder fan go watch Road to Perdition. Snyder fans will go watch things like Joker. Okay? Because those kinds of movies attract them. All right? So it's a kind of movie that Snyder fans do. But the people that Warner Bros. Have employed do not do those kinds of movies. They just don't. And the DC audience on a whole likes deeper movies that delve deeper into storytelling and, deal with life. Make a statement or something on life. So you'll find that it's not just Snyder fans. The DC audience likes a certain kind of movie. They like a certain kind of movie. It is what it is. And for some reason, Warner Bros. Still hasn't come to terms with that because, as you can see, with the Superman movie, it's not doing well overseas at all. It's underperforming overseas. And domestically, it's doing okay. I don't know if it'll do Suicide Squad numbers. I don't know if it'll do BVS numbers domestically, or if it'll end up doing Wonder Woman numbers. But it's doing okay. It's made over $300 million domestically. But internationally, it's not doing okay at all. It's doing horrible. And so that's why the movie is where it is in total world gross. And the point I'm making is we've seen that movie before. We've seen Justice League 2017. And a slew of flops that are the same. It's the same content. So what I'm saying is that the audience has spoken once again. James Gunn's movie is going to be a flop, which says the audience is saying, yeah, it's like a Justice League level flop. It makes some money, but it's still a flop. And the reason that happens is because you're not having the support of the majority of people who usually go to see these kinds of movies. And if you don't know who your audience is when you're making movies, you're going to have flop after flop after flop because you're not considering the audience that you are trying to relay this movie to. And that's the problem with DC right now. You have to be able to pay attention to the fans and their criticisms, which cover the majority of your DC audience. There are going to be fans, because there are all kinds of people who will have taste that go against the general consensus. And so Warner Brothers, for some ridiculous reason, which I think I know why, it was executive led, I think it's a conscious decision because they wanted to fuse with Marvel, decided to go with the most outrageous fans and the fans that make up the minority, who also go with the industry. They align with the industry, the critics in the industry, where they were saying this movie's not bright enough. It's not, it doesn't have enough jokes. It's not as fun, right? As you saw from the industry people. So they lined up with those fans, which can never give you the box office success that you want because they are a very, very small portion of the DC audience, the audience that goes to see your DC movies. And it doesn't matter how much you pad theaters and make it look like people bought tickets and you're giving away tickets to people to go see your movie. It doesn't really matter what you do concerning that. At the end of the day, you're going to have flops because you did not deal with and satisfy the request of the majority of the DC audience. The majority of the DC audience wanted Zack Snyder's Justice League sequel. The majority of them. Okay? The minority was saying, no, don't bring back Zack. Don't do this. And of course, that minority reflects the attitude of the executives in Warner Brothers Discovery. Which means more or less, this minor audience, which is giving major airplay and is getting everything they want, are probably outshoots of the executives in the studio. They're affiliated in some way with the executives in the studio. So that is why this artificial construct it breaks down. It doesn't stand up. And because people are so power hungry, it leads to very stupid choices and regime change. So, House of L38, which is movies and games related, reports that the BVS line is the hottest line in Todd McFarlane figures. That's their biggest seller. And they made this this additional line in response to that. Gunn Gunnar Cringe said, truth is James Gunn gave us the most comic, inaccurate DC film to date, yet it's being defended and praised by the same dudes who whined about comic accuracy for 12 years. Something's telling me it was never about these nerds need of feel-good nostalgia. This is true. In the movie, Lex Luthor created a Superman clone who was supposed to be Ultraman. In the comics, Ultraman is from another Earth. In the movie, Galactic Conquerors, Superman's parents is Galactic Conquerors who are supposed to dominate Earth. In the comics, they're peaceful scientists looking for hope. In the movie, the sun hurts Superman when he heals. Well, is when he's healing, he's getting hurt. That's what they say. In the comics, he flies through multiple suns. In the movie, Supergirl is a drunk based on one comic book scene. In the comics, actress Supergirl, bold, courageous, smart, heart-filled. Yeah, we know James Gunn likes his Guardians of the Galaxy thing, and he likes his smutty jokes and stuff like that, so So Dan Tom at the opera said the sun didn't hurt him. Bones and organ tissue rapidly knitting together hurt him. This complaint has been brainlessly retarded for 8 months. It isn't comic book accurate, fool. Superman always heals from the sun without pain. Otherwise, show me a comic where he's in pain when he's getting healed by the sun. Show me where in the comic he spent any part of his adult life working on an oil rig. Snyderverse hashtag criticism of lore adventurism takes a shovelful of salt. He didn't in Man of Steel work on an oil rig. He served the oil rig work. He saved the oil rig workers. Maybe you need to rewatch Man of Steel. Cool. So you got the comics about him working as a commercial fisherman, right? And D says, oh boy, you are stupid. You want to compare these two scenarios, working as a fisherman for some time before being Superman and working in the Daily Planet doesn't affect the core story of Superman as Superman crying from getting healed by the sun. Stupid, nah. See, Man of Steel, like Batman Begins, gives a take on how Superman came to be. You, on the other hand, are angry that I can show Superman held other jobs and other things from the comics. In short, him being a fisherman or a waiter in a bar is not beyond his scope. I wasn't talking to you, right? Read my message as well. I'm talking to the guy with his unnecessary hate for Man of Steel. Oops, sorry. My point is, Clark has taken on many other jobs before, and while he was Superman. Before and while he was Superman. So when the guy says he was a fisherman, no biggie. No, the whole premise of Vagabond Clark doing odd jobs is Snyder canon only. I showed you from the comics that Superman, that Clark Kent took on many other jobs. So, once again, you ignore that. And you... Hold on a second. Somebody's calling me. Hello? Still morning? All right. A what flavor? You have sorrel, Moby, grapefruit, lime. Okay. Grapefruit. You're a grapefruit man. Hold on 1 second, people. I'll be right back at you. Is vacation time for school still going on? No, really no. I see. How are you doing, man? Praise God, praise God. That's strength. Yes, man. Welcome. All right, everyone. Yeah. See Donald now. Okay. I ain't seen him in a long time. Nice to see him. All right. Right. So. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I showed from the comics that Clark Kent took on many other jobs. So once again, you ignore that. And you double down on being ridiculous. And I'll show it again. I'll go to here. I showed from the comics that Clark Kent took on many other jobs. So once again, you ignore that and you double down on being ridiculous. Here is movies and games related. And by the way, let me just show you the discussion with this guy because I think it's worth the while. Let's see here. Let's go here. No, actually, Superman's version of Jor-El. So he said, Gunn's biggest department is Jor-El, but see the way you try to blow off the massive. Hey, you were blind to the part where Superman was getting peanut-like allergies to kryptonite, or the fact that Supergirl is drunk and calling her cousin a bitch. Oops. My bad. Here it is. Point is, Snyder's lore is generally much more comic divergent than Gunn's. That's what he said. This is his claim. Gunn's biggest partner is Jor-El, but again, Snyder's Jor-El is on this colonizer bullshit. He just has a different rhetoric tone. No, actually, Snyder's version of Jor-El comes from John Byrne's Man of Steel and verbatim from All-Star Superman. You know, the famous lines, they will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But they will join you in the sun, Kal. In time, you'll help them accomplish wonders. That comes from All-Star Superman comic book. Okie dokie. Brad Curran. Why can't Zack Snyder's fans just let go of the past, move on, and embrace the future of DC? Zack Snyder fan posts something he likes about his DC movies. Psst, only a dumb idiot cultist would like that. By the way, the Snyderverse is dead. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, can't Zack Snyder's fans just move on? That Brad Curran is dead on the money. Brad Curran's been dead on the money for the last God knows how long. This is one good reporter who gets it. He summarizes everything perfectly. Think, McFly! Zack's original idea about the Amazons and Olympians being descendants of ancient Kryptonians is rad. My biggest Restore the Snyderverse hope would be that he puts that idea back in and just tells everybody deal with it. I think so too. Now, after Brad Curran said this, here are some of the response. Also, Zack Snyder fans, sell DC, fire James Gunn, restore the Snyderverse, super flop. Batman v Superman is the best movie ever. It's James Gunn's fault that DC didn't hire Zack Snyder and let him continue his films. Only Zack could have made $1 billion DC movie. I don't know about only Zack could have made $1 billion DC movie, because we saw The Dark Knight do it. We saw The Dark Knight Rises do it. Zack Snyder wasn't involved in those films. We saw Aquaman do it. We saw Joker do it. All right? So it can be done. And we're not going that far. Like you saying, it's James Gunn's fault that DC didn't hire Zack Snyder and let him continue his films. I don't know where that came from. That's not something that Snyder fans ever said. I'll tell you what is James Gunn's fault. James Gunn's fault is throwing the DCU under the bus, saying that it's all going to be rebooted. James Gunn's fault is coming in and firing Henry Cavill. James Gunn's fault is coming in and getting rid of Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck. James Gunn's fault is destroying DC and then going after the Justice League and mocking them in his Peacemaker films. His Peacemaker, franchise. James Gunn's fault is mocking Superman for jokes. That's his fault. Now, I don't know where you get it's James Gunn's fault that DC didn't hire Zack Snyder. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Batman v Superman is the best movie ever made. I never said it's the best movie ever made, but it's one of the best comic book movies ever made. Absolutely. Super flop. Yeah, well, it's flopping. What do you expect? The Superman movie is flopping. Super shit is what James Gunn called it, which it is. Restore the Snyderverse. That's a mandate set in 2021. That's a real thing. Fire James Gunn. Yeah, fire James Gunn. Yep, he should be fired. Sell DC. You see that? I know what you're talking about. That's sell the Snyderverse, the Netflix thing. I'm not saying sell DC. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm open-minded to anything, but at the end of the day, the studio's doing some shit. George Fernando continues. A bunch of other nonsense and unnecessary vitriol against the new movie and James Gunn. Unnecessary vitriol. Unnecessary vitriol. First of all, buddy, regardless of whether people say they're going to boycott this movie or not, it's not a good movie. And I ain't going to take my hard-earned money to go see stuff like that. That's me. Maybe you would, but not me. And you have to respect that. Whether you think you want to imply that there's vitriol behind it or not, you're going to have to respect that. Okay? Because you can't tell me what to do with my money. Okay? So that's that. Like, did you see all the hate comments on all the trailers and shots of the film even before the movie came out? Bro, the trailers were trash. It's trash. What? This is not hate. It's not hate. If people say that trailer is trash, okay? The CG is trash. The storyline is trash. We've been seeing this trash for the last 7 years. That's 7 years of trash. What are you talking about? When Birds of Prey came out, I said it was trash. The action scenes are trash. When Wonder Woman 84 came out, I actually went and saw that movie, and it was trash. Not because Gal Gadot's in it and Patty Jenkins was the one that directed it. That means I'm going to be sparing it. No, it's trash. It's just those movies are trash. What part of that do you not understand? Unnecessary vitriol. Bro, we've been seeing the same kind of movie now for 7 years. 7 years of trash. And they're not changing the movies. The movies are the same. It's the same Marvel shit we do not like as DC fans. It's trash. Now the movie's finally out. Snyder fans are upset it's doing well. It's not doing well. and keep comparing the box office to Man of Steel. Yeah, they will, without taking into consider a lot of factors. Shut up. You're not taking into consideration any factor. The new Superman movie is fucking great. That's your opinion. And James Gunn understands the character. That's your opinion. It's evident. And apparently, because critics are liking the new Superman more, this upsets Snyder fans. No, it doesn't upset Snyder fans. We're not emotional like you. We don't go stick our head up James Gunn's ass while he insults you and insults Superman. We're not that kind of fan base. George Fernando. Well, they have recently graduated to celebrating the struggles or failure of any film Zack Snyder's fans support, if it means getting one over them, as seen with some recent comments on Fantastic Four. I don't support the Fantastic Four. Speak about Zack Snyder's fans. Don't include me in that. I was not a supporter of Fantastic Four. I don't care anything about it. I didn't go to see it either. Superman says, "What the fuck do you want, asshole? Suck Snyder's dick all the time. Cry harder with Dead Snyderverse and Flop Moon. No matter how much you cry, Superman 2025 is going to be a hit and we'll get a sequel. Fuck you." Dear Snyder fans, this is a Superman fan, by the way. Please support Superman. There's no point in hating this film. It's WB who fucked up. We are DC fans overall. Let's unite without any ego and hate. Respect the past. Embrace the future. Man, if motherfucker behave like a schizophrenic. So you bash Snyder fans, and then you turn around and begging for this? Like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. That is fucking hilarious. Come begging and screaming. I would say the well has been poisoned by the extreme fringe at that moment. And now every time someone sees a post about it, well, not saying it's right or the new film deserves the same hate. It's just how people have come to see it. You didn't just post something you like. You said restore the Snyderverse. Hence the comments on why we should move on because that's not happening. Happy to have explained. Snyder's original idea about the Amazon Olympics being descended on ancient Kryptonians is rad. Heck, Snyder isn't allowed near DC anymore. So as you can see, the haters still hate. The troll is still troll. And Zack Snyder still reigns supreme. Woo! Pick 3 Superman movies. For me, it would be Man of Steel. Batman v Superman. This is a trap. This is to set us up to get the Zack Snyder trilogy. I know what's going on here. I'm still going to put my 2 cents in and have some fun with this. All right, let me get out of here. Notice people within the ranks who are traitors. It's the haircut that's currently happening. Jason Gunn is selling promising times to DC. Superman's been received well by your team, employer, critics, and audiences. So they're actually putting out this statement. Rebellious exposes it. This is why I given up on the haircut a long time ago. Bunch of pussies. Yep. And they are trying to say that this movie is a success when it's not. By the way, 300,000 people in rain marched across Sydney Harbor Bridge today in solidarity with Gaza. Just so you know. The box office, the box office after COVID has never been the same. Deadpool and the Wolverine, Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's not forget Lilo and Stitch. These people are full of shit, man. My left and right eye go blind in sequence there for a few seconds. It's funny, for years, we were told Man of Steel isn't the biggest Superman movie ever because Superman 1978 sold more tickets. But now we're told we can't do the same. And Superman 2025 might not pass Man of Steel's global 670 million, inflation adjusting or not. That's the thing, man. That's. Oh my God, Rebel Moon, yeah, baby. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. I just wanted to make sure. I agree with nerds about Batman and Superman killing. If they do, they stop being symbols and paragons of virtue that others can look up to. I mean, can you imagine a hero who has killed being the leader and moral compass of a universe of superheroes? It is impossible. His sarcasm is so hilarious. Shout out to Will, by the way. Rebel Moon, baby. See, this is why the BDS movement is effective. Starbucks has to close down 90 stores. Keep it going, guys. Keep it going. Restore the Snyderverse. Yeah, baby. All day, every day. Just finished Fantastic Four for the third time. I love this movie so much. It might be my favorite MCU movie. I can't lie. I don't care. peak. Yeah, baby. All Sydney is packed with people standing for Palestine, a clear sign that Israel, with all its propaganda and machinery, has been fully exposed. Shout out to that. This looks amazing, Rebel Moon. Jimmy, what do you think the majority of Gun DC fans are? Bots, paid shills, trolls, unemployed dumbasses. I think they're all the same. Shills. Yep. All right, let me just wrap this up with one more thing. Let me see. Dave Dodger says, this writing and performance of this speech isn't as good as people think it is. Superman comes off like a teen trying to convince an adult they're grown and ready to make their own decisions. Dude, you've been Superman for 3 years. Yep. So that's basically it. Dean Cain updates. Newsflash. Lucy Clark is no longer available to stream on HBO Max. Damn. Or anywhere else online except for purchase in some countries on Apple or YouTube TV. That sucks, Dean. That was a nice little something, man. I guess because he said something about James Gunn, they're canceling him. That's fucked up. Rebel Moon. Japan stands with Palestine. Yeah, baby, yeah. Yeah. Between Ayer actively alienating the fans that were fighting for it and Leto accusations getting the whole way to the People magazine, I think they know it's dead. At some point you'll see this. I don't know how dead it is. Superman still hasn't even beaten Iron Man's box office. This is the first Iron Man we're talking about. Just to show you a little something. Disney, Bob Iger, he's got Israeli citizenship. Viacom, CBS. Bob Pakish, he's got Israeli citizenship. Comcast, NBC, Brian Roberts. His mother is a Jew. He's not a Jew. Netflix, Ted Sarandos is married to a Jew. CNN, Warner Brothers Discovery, Jeff Zucker is Jewish. Chris Lichett is married to a Jew. And let's not forget, David Zaslav is also Jew. All right, I am going to call it quits right here. So I spent a lot of time. Hey, there's Medea Benjamin. I was glad to see CNN Fareed Zakira had a guest. Karlstrom from The Economist, who told the truth about the cause of salvation in Gaza, Israel. Not the UN, not Hamas, Israel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Superman's Kryptonian Earthfather's casting were just pure perfection. Restore the Snyderverse. All right, I'm going to stop right there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Wow. You guys have been watching my video. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the views. I spent 2 hours on this. I got to go out the road. I was waiting on somebody to call me concerning some product that I have. Sometime in the future, I'll show you the products that I have. But until then, I've got to step out and I've got to move. But I'm glad to see all of you gassing up a Barbie-like push that results in 500 million box office and losses. Yep. Cause the firing of a lot of people. Trigger a Guntard or any WB shill using this image. Man of Steel Global's box office, Super Flop's box office. Literally, it's Super Flop. Oh my god! Super Flop and Justice League were the highest grossing flops of DC. Oh my god. Y'all think y'all Zack Snyder? Y'all think y'all's Richard Donner? Huh? Yeah, y'all's trips, man. Y'all clowns. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Oh Lord. Mm.
Blood of my blood.
You all see headlines. Everything is river to the sea, genocide, starvation. Headlines, headlines. Have you ever seen this has been going on all around the world?
מחר, יום שני, 4/8, בשעה 2 בתחנת הרכבת בשדרות, אנחנו נצעד לגבול עזה כדי לשבור את המצור.
See, people are desperate.
This guy, this madman, and we're in his pocket. We have no apparent say in what he's going to do. Netanyahu. Yes.
Okay, people, I'm For 30 years, I stood with Hamas as a lawyer. I spent thousands of hours with my clients. I have known almost all of its founders and its political leadership. And I represented them on domestic and international courts. I've seen nothing but principle. A woman full of conviction, courage, and class. A woman to get behind. A woman that births hope. A woman whose weapon is a mirror. A woman to support. A woman that you can try to sanction that can't be stopped. A gift she told me once. You are a gift. Francisca Albanese. She's fearless too. She's definitely on the right side of history. The memes just keep coming. Why? So why was there a reboot in the first place? Let James Gunn cook, they said. Let him give us a hopeful Superman, they said. Instead, we got a bland pussy-ass Superman with Jor-El and Lara asking him to rule without mercy, take as many wives as possible by force if needed. What the fuck? Let Gunn cook. It's going to make $1 billion. I said let him cook. What the fuck? Can't even beat Man of Steel at Global Office. Unadjusted for inflation as well, ladies and gentlemen. Release the Snyder Cut. I'm going to have fun with this. Damning. Has there ever been an act of self-sabotage more damaging in the history of Hollywood than WB not standing by Zack Snyder and Batman v Superman? Zack Snyder improved the brand while Gunn damaged it. WB stock prices, picture 1. As you can see, they rose through when Zack Snyder was there, right? They dipped with Justice League, that piece of shit of a movie, and then they peaked when the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League in 2021. And they've dropped and they have not recovered since. Okay? All right. So picture one. Unfortunately, okay. That's just good. Let's go through it. WB stock prices reached peaks in 2013, Man of Steel. In 2016, Batman v Superman. And in 2017, Justice League, but fell significantly after the failure of Justice League. The stock did not drop after Batman v Superman, despite claims that DC haters and gun lickers that it was a failure. The stock recovered in 2018 with Aquaman, reaching another peak, and then in 2019, Joker. However, the price fell again due to a series of disappointing films during the Hamada era. In 2021, when the Snyder Cut was released, the stock experienced its highest historical peak. Although the price did not maintain that high value throughout the following months, it remained decent, reaching another peak in 2022 with the release of the Batman. But it's because it's shit films that followed, man. That's why. Batman and Black Adam with the announcement of Henry Cavill's return. Unfortunately, at the end of 2022, James Gunn took over WB, rebooted the franchise, fired Cavill, leading to a decline in stock prices that has not fully recovered since. No, it's because of the lockdown. Of course it was. Well, let's examine the data. Picture 2 shows the stock prices of 4 other major studios, none of which performed as poorly as WB, even during the lockdown period. Numbers. Gun lickers hate these. And here we are, Disney. Lockdown time. Disney's doing good. $116 and whatever cents. Netflix is at $1,000 and something a share. Universal's at $63 and Sony at $24. So, and they're recouping, as you can see there. So, no, it's not true. Yeah. Shout out to Becco Movies, man. 100, baby. 100. Restore the Snyderverse. Restore the Snyderverse. As my boy 4KO would say. Oh, shit. This is not it. Restore the Snyderverse. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Woohoo. Do-do-do-do-do. Damning. Has there ever been an act of self-sabotage more damaging than this truth? Yeah, man. I'm gonna say it. James Gunn, this is not real. This is made up. James Gunn reportedly argues, that he can't be fired, otherwise his entire family and friend circle would be unemployed. Oh God, these are funny guys. They're acting as if Super Jurassic wasn't their thing, straight up traitors, but blame Snyder fans for absolutely nothing. Who says sell Snyder fans into white slavery? What the fuck does that mean? Do you believe the official story of 9/11? No. James Gunn counting all the profits after WB spent millions in butts to promote the movie. And Superman still flopped. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is that for me. I think I've said enough, and I've done enough. I've done enough. Yeah, yeah.